Hey, Trevor.
Hey,
Sal. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm good.
Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling ready?
No.
Hey, I have some stuff to your hair. Look brownie for you. Yep. And
Oh, it's good. It's really good. Did you make this yourself?
yeah, I mean it's a box, it's a mix, but
Little family recipe.
yeah, here you go. Listen,
that.
do you want something ice?
Wow.
Too hot, too cold?
No, I think it's fine.
Anything I can do to help you, man.
Sal, it's kind of over the top. What's going on?
Well, listen, I'm just glad you're here. We're filming an episode. I just want you to feel welcome.
Okay, well, I feel very welcomed, and I really appreciate it, but it just kind of seems a little bit weird.
No, it's not weird. It's in fact, I'm just practicing hospitality.
Hospitality. Hey guys, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Stallion.
And welcome to the Youth Room. So today we want to talk about the summertime, which is coming very, very quickly for all of us youth pastors. And the summertime is a really, really difficult time to be able to take care of everything that's going on. It's busy.
Yeah, you got a lot of things that are kind of summer traditions. You got your summer camp, your mission trips, vacation Bible school, and then all the regular hangout and just kind of nuances that the summer brings.
So with all that stuff going on, it can be really difficult to make sure that you are kind of up to date and ready for the week-to-week planning and programming. So maybe specifically being able to teach and be able to pull off a series throughout the summertime when you got everything else going on. So we want to offer to you today a really helpful thing called
Series in a Box.
That's right. These series in a box are things you can download from our website, and they'll give you all the graphics, all the video, all the teaching content to be able to do really, really great series throughout the summer so that you can free yourself up to be able to minister to your students, be a part of Vacation Bible School, camp, and all the other different things.
We'll put the information below, but if you go to 1230.media and you go to the worship media tab, there we have a section that says series in a box, and you can select them. We have some that are specific to holidays or special events, but we have a whole tab just for students, and those are kind of generic that can be used all throughout the summer.
That's right. Things like known and rituals, the kingdom, rooted, just some off the top of my head. But there's all kinds of different series in a box you can grab. Plus, we're adding new ones all the time. So grab those. They might help you be able to plan for the summer, be able to make you as productive as possible throughout the summertime.
Check them out.
But today,
we're talking about hospitality.
Hospitality.
Be our
guest. That's right. We want to make sure that when students come into our youth programming, they're not just visitors for us, but instead they're actual guests. Like we're really taking care of them and welcoming them in as much as we possibly can. I think you've said before, right? Hospitality is a spiritual gift. So let's exercise those gifts.
That's right. We always talk about what happens in the four walls of the youth room.
That's
So
right.
we want to also talk about what happens kind of today from when they get out of the car to when programming starts. What happens with that time?
This is a really, really crucial time because I think sometimes we don't spend any kind of attention to what takes place between the vehicle and the worship space and the worship time that begins. You may have 30 minutes, 45 minutes, who knows how much time you have for a student to be there. I think this is a really crucial time to take advantage of it and pay attention to it. Don't just let it fall to the wayside because so much attention is going to the program itself.
So today I want to give you guys a couple of tips that have been helpful for us in our student ministry and how we deal with that kind of first impressions, that getting out of the car, what happens when I'm new, what do I do all the time?
Yeah, we want students to feel like they are welcome within the four walls of our student ministry. So the first thing that you can do is very simple, but it's pay attention to the verbiage.
Whoa, sounds like a bad word.
It's not a bad word. In fact, this word is a great word. Pay attention to the verbiage, simply meaning this. You may have students who've been a part of your youth ministry for a very, very long time, and they know what all the things that you say actually mean. So maybe you've got some funny title that comes with a program thing that you do, or maybe there's like certain songs that the youth ministry loves, or there's a certain signage around that talks about the cafe that's called a certain funny thing. And maybe you have small groups, but you call them D groups or whatever else you call them. And so if you're a brand new student, you have no idea what these things mean. If you want a student to feel like they're a guest and they're really welcome within your youth space, make sure that you're saying what things actually are.
Yeah, and listen, we understand a student ministry can have an endearing term
Sure.
for an event or for something, but make sure you explain it right afterwards. Nothing excludes someone more like not knowing what's happening, not knowing what we're talking about. And truthfully, this is a trend that's happening too, even just in student ministries in general, where student ministries are getting away from their original names. Like, think of this for a second. And if this is your student ministry name, I'm sorry, but what about places like Ignite?
Ignite, that was ours actually.
Well, was it Ignite and Flame and Fuse? It's like, if you didn't know any better, you'd be like, you guys are a bunch of pyromaniacs.
Gotta be about fire.
And so a lot of places are actually going back to saying just their church name and calling it student ministry, just because it's generic and people know what it is.
Yeah, and in the end, this is kind of like really good branding, making sure that when your students come in, they understand everything that's happening from the time they get out of their car to the time they go into your program session. They know exactly what to expect and what they're a part of. This goes back to social media as well. Make sure you're calling things what they actually are. Be paying attention to your verbiage.
Okay, number 2, pinpoint locations that are ideal for greeting.
Mm-hmm.
So what this means is like you need to think about your church structure, the flow, the building, the location. Now, for most of us, it's probably super simple. Students get dropped off here, they come in here.
Yeah.
But other churches have places where there's multiple entrances and multiple doors, or maybe the gym is on one side, but the hangout area is on the other side. You need to think through where are students coming from, where are they arriving to your room, where do you need to place greeters?
Yeah, if I'm brand new to your youth ministry and I get out of the vehicle, my mom drives off, and I'm standing there all by myself, I want to make sure there's somebody that's familiar with what's happening who's saying hello to me right away. So one of the things that we do within our student ministry is we want people who are welcoming as soon as students get out of the vehicle, potentially saying hi to mom or hi to dad as they're leaving. And as they come in the door, there's somebody welcoming them there as well. As they're waiting for programming to start for the 30 minutes before programming begins, we have people who are walking around, having conversation, spending time getting to know who these students are. So this is a really great way to utilize your volunteers as well. Maybe sometimes you got a volunteer who's not really great at teaching, not really great at worship, not really great at running games. Maybe they're awesome at having conversation with students. Man, utilize them and make sure that they're a part of those strategic locations as students come in to be welcomed.
And it goes beyond even just kind of the welcoming side, but even just the safety issue. Sometimes in the parking lot, you need some people there. We've also done flags. We put flags outside. So before someone even pulls up to where the student ministry meets, we've got flags on the road, flags where they got to turn.
This is where we get out. We know that.
And they know. And if there's no flags there, then they kind of have an idea like, whoa, maybe something was canceled tonight that I missed. So place greeters in strategic locations.
That's right. And number 3, offer food. This is my favorite one because I love food. Right?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? But when you look at Jesus throughout the scriptures, every time that Jesus is spending time with people, almost always he's around a table of some kind, having conversation around food. And so what would it look like for you and your student ministry as you're welcoming these guests in for the night, hoping that they're going to come back and join you again? There's food being offered to them. Maybe it's like really unique stuff, really good stuff. Maybe it's like some lady at the church that cooks really amazing cookies or brownies, perhaps. And those are made available to students. What a great way to make them feel like they're a guest.
We think it's fun to hype up whatever it is. If it is the lady that makes a brownie, make her a brand, like create a sticker for her. Make it that this is the only place to get these brownies.
You can only get it here. That's right.
I went to student ministry one time when I was still a student, and they had a certain brand of soda that was kind of harder to get, and it was just served only there in that location. And it was just kind of fun. You couldn't go out and buy the store. It was only a youth group.
Yeah, there's some really weird stuff you can get, like Jones soda. 8081 is a drink that we used to have in our youth program that we can only really get in Kentucky. We would buy it and bring it down to South Carolina, and we'd sell it there. And so try to make unique ways for students to feel like, man, we've got to go, we've got to show up because we're going to get brownies, we're going to get ALA, we're going to get all these different drinks and foods. So make sure that you're offering food potentially in that 30-minute window before programming begins to make people feel like they're welcome.
Well, that's a great segue to our other tip, and that is to structure your time well.
That's right.
You see, the amount of time that you have there is limited, and the worst thing you can do is to have so much that you don't know what else to do. Or if you have so little, you have to be really strategic about how you use it. So think about the amount of time that a student has when they get out of the car before they get started. What are you going to do in that time?
I can't stand it when you show up to some party, and you don't really know that many people, and you walk in and you find yourself standing in the corner waiting for things to kind of really get going, but maybe for your friends to show up, whatever it is. This is a student experience potentially every single week. And so in that 30-minute segment, make sure that you're using it really, really wisely. So maybe there's games at the table for students to have fun playing around the table. Maybe there's questions that are around each table that students can have fun and spend time asking one another and sharing with one another. Again, maybe there's food involved. Maybe there's music playing in the room. Like, how can you use that time really, really wisely to make sure that it's welcoming from the time the student shows up to the time the program actually begins?
I think music is a no-brainer. If music is playing, someone, at least it kind of cuts the awkward silence.
That's right.
Food is a no-brainer. It gives them something to do. We have a cafe where we sell stuff for like $1. It's like, 50 cents for a soda, $1 for a candy bar. And literally they can walk in. It gives them something to do where they're not just standing there awkwardly because they don't know people. They can come in and be like, oh, there's the cafe. Let me go over there. But set up games, like set up, 9 Square and Gaga and oversized Jenga, or even just as simple as put a Frisbee in a football. Now the weather's nice. People just want to be outside. They want to have fun. They want to hang out.
Yeah, be intentional with this time. This is a really, really crucial time that I think students can really feel like, wow, this place is a place that really cares about me. I'm coming back next week. Lastly, but I think really, really importantly, ask questions.
That's good.
Ask questions. One of the worst things I can do is to walk around a student ministry and see students who are standing there looking at me awkwardly and walk up and just wait for them to talk to me. I actually, when I first started doing middle school ministry, I had like a little piece of paper I would keep in my pocket where I'd brainstorm some different questions to be able to ask that night. And they all weren't always like the normal questions, like where are you from, what school you go to, but some of them were weird, like, hey, if you could go anywhere and live any place on the earth right now, where would you go? Money not included, and ask questions like that to get conversation going and relationships started.
Yeah, what if questions are great. I do like the school question if there's multiple schools in the area, because then you can kind of see what student can you kind of point them to, or maybe something about their school. I love asking them about their day. Man, what was the craziest thing that happened to you today?
What was the highlight? What was the
just getting them to talk a little bit. The key is this: if you walk up and talk to new students, you're modeling this for your leaders, you're modeling this for other students. But if you're not doing this, you can't expect other people to do that.
That's right. Ask questions. Make sure you utilize those questions well. And I think it's a really great way. You might find that you've met a student and you remember their name because you had a conversation with them. You asked them a question. You recognize what school they go to, what name they have, what family they're a part of, and that kind of stuff. So these are some really, really practical ways for you to create an environment that is guest-oriented, that makes your students feel like they're welcome and they want to come back and spend more time there.
Listen, we want to hear from you guys. Maybe you've got some ideas, some tips that worked well from you. So go ahead and leave a comment below, and
make sure you subscribe
and share this with someone
with somebody else
who might have use for this. And we'll see you next time in
the youth room.